Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Tuscany, to the Mugello circuit for a first ever visit for ACO rules racing to this part of the world. Certainly for the Ligier European Series, it's another venue to tick off in 2024, and this will be Heat 5 of the season, races 8 and 9, because remember that one-off earlier in the year in June at the Le Mans circuit, Circuit de la Sarthe, and before that we have visited places like Barcelona in Spain, Paul Ricard in the south of France, Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium last time out, these two races in Italy, and then we will end the season in, 3 weeks' time in Portimao. A splendid grid again from the Ligier European Series. Good morning from Johnny Palmer and from Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com in our little booth for the full day, because we'll be bringing you coverage a little bit later on for the Michelin Le Mans Cup and the European Le Mans Series qualifying ELMS race happening here tomorrow. But before all of that, there are 2 hour-long races for the Ligier European Series. I'll give you the full grid in just a second. But this is going to be really interesting. We're kind of going into the unknown, Graham.
We are. Good morning, everybody, from the fabulous surroundings of this beautiful Mugello circuit. Great to be here. And Johnny, if we get a race half as good as the races we saw last time out at Spa, it'll be twice as good as many other races.
Yeah, that's, for me, the second race, particularly at Spa-Francorchamps, was a real standout and just a magnificent advert for the racing that the Ligier European Series can produce. 2 qualifying sessions yesterday. Now, they were in tricky conditions. We had a lot of rain here yesterday. The forecast for much of Saturday is improved, but the question was who was on what tyres and at what point during each of those individual sessions. Well, Ian Aguilera came out on top with a very good lap, a 2:15.097, bearing in mind that the track surface was utterly drenched in water. So the 2:15.097, we will chisel away at that through the course of the day, and expecting much faster lap times. Just to mention about this circuit though as well, the elevation change and the fact that half of its lap distance is actually bends, curves, so it could be quite punishing on tyres, not particularly in these races, but later on in the weekend for other things that are on the bill. So Ian Aguilera starts on pole position. He's not sharing the 77 RLRM Sport car, so he'll remain on board throughout the race. There is a mandatory pit stop at 27 minutes to 34 minutes into the race, so it's effectively a 7-minute pit window. Starting alongside the Monza Garage, obviously at their home race, although not actually the home circuit, but James Winslow will start the number 71 car alongside Eco Segre, or just in front of Eco Segre, who is second in the championship, trailing Hayden Chance and Theo Mikuris by 15 points. Geronimo Berrio starts from 4th position in the first of a couple of Team Virage cars, with Jacopo D'Amato in behind on the next row. Then it's Ben Casely for Nielsen Racing. Hayden Chance in the championship leading car number 1 will only start from 7th place, so some work to do there ahead of Andre Vieira. And then this is an idea of how mixed up the grid is as they're coming now through Corintao corner. Because that's the first JS2 Rs inside the top 10. And Antoine Lupescu for Le Dussard, number 50, starts 9th ahead of Jacopo Mazza, who's in a P4. Then it is Gwenaël Delomier for Pegasus Racing. Alan Fulger, the Romanian, for Smart Driving, starts 12th ahead of Gregorio Bertocco for Iron Links by LR Motorsport. Cindy Goudet for M Racing. Clement Moreno, who is a joint championship leader in the JS2 Rs for ANS Motorsport. Then Sita Van Moort for Le Dussard also. Julien Schell, also a championship leader in the JS2 Rs. Car number 29 will start from 17th ahead of Jacques Nicolet. A change of team there, although it's the car effectively the same livery on that. Natalia Granada and Jordan Meyer. So many stories up and down the order. We'll try and delve into them as much as possible. But now through Bucine corner, the final corner of the circuit, turn 15, this wonderful field of Ligier European Series cars are left on their own now as the leading car darts to the right-hand side and to pit road. And 1 hour of racing It's virtually 8:30 in the morning, is about to burst into life, still greeted though by those 10 red lights. It's a long pause because this straight is 1.1 kilometers. Now we get going with the Ligier European Series for the first time ever in Mugello, and it is a good start for James Winslow in that black and red Monza garage car. He goes straight to the lead and doesn't give Ian Aguilera a chance, and Aguilera is trying to snatch that back as quickly as possible as they head into San Donato corner for the first time. A real spread from left to right. This track gets a bit narrow in places, less than 10 meters wide, interestingly, so that's going to be taken into account. Now Eco Segre up on the high side of Ian Aguilera. Grip does appear to be at a premium this early in the morning, Graham.
It does, doesn't it? Lots of wet patches around this circuit. It was heavy rain towards the evening yesterday. That clearly has still not evaporated. Sunshine is beginning to play on the circuit, but it is to the lead. Ian Aguilera, our pole setter, indeed, double pole setter for today's races. It was by James Winslow, just found the grip. Well, Winslow couldn't. And
interestingly, in the background, you might have spotted that the two Team Virage cars switched positions, so Hayden Chance able to get ahead of Jacopo D'Amato. I wonder whether that was a little agreement ahead of time in that if you can give me a position early on in the lap, then I'll take it, because they're running for a championship, remember, 15 points ahead of Eco Segre, and Segre now massively on the defensive to Geronimo Berrio. And Berrio thought about a move up the inside there as they now head through the very fast left-hander, and you again get a feeling of the undulation of this circuit down into the fast approach to the chicane. Good start again for Antoine Lupescu. Now, he started the car and having set the time yesterday, and is firmly inside the top 10. Now they're heading through Biondetti chicane and up towards Bucine, which is the final corner of the circuit. Segre really hassling James Winslow after James's initially good getaway, but he slipped back to second position as Ian Aguilera getting into the groove and really starting to depart this battle for what is now second, third, fourth and fifth.
Indeed, four-car train, and Hayden Chance looking to push quickly as hard as he possibly can to join that train. Not the position the championship leaders would have wanted to start this race, Johnny. But he's beginning to close that gap to the JS2 Rs now. Here's Antoine Lupescu leading this charge. This is the battle for second, though. It's Gregorio Bicoccio, with Julien Schell. It's been a cracking start from Julien Schell. He's made up a lot of places in the early running.
Yeah, he started 17th overall and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like 7th position within the JS2Rs as well. So very good early progress from the Pegasus car. Clement Moreno had a little look at the inside there of the all-purple number 53 of Cindy Goudet. She's run by M Racing, Ivan Muller's squad. And Clement Moreno, I mean, talk about with 4 races to go how close it is in actually both championships, but particularly in the JS2Rs, where 3 drivers are all on the same points. 123, admittedly 2 of those drivers share a car, but David Cosenel and Julien Schell just in behind, I think on countback, Clement Moreno. His car easily spotted with the fangs, the gnashing teeth on the front of his JS2R. But back to the race leaders, and a lead now of 2.2 seconds. The gap is closing, though, with Hayden Chance reeling in Ben Casely.
Yeah, he's caught him, hasn't he? Now looking for a way by. Trying to leapfrog up this field and back into major points contention as well as championship contention. Already shaping up, Johnny, that this could be another very close encounter.
So the long, sweeping hairpin bend, basically, but it's a very open and quite fast hairpin, heavily banked as well, Bucine corner, and onto the long straight, where a car in front will do you a big favour in terms of the draft that you can pick up. That's not something, of course, that Ian Aguilera can take advantage of, but it doesn't seem to matter because he's 2.3 seconds clear as he begins lap 3. Cindy Goudet still under pressure from Clement Moreno in behind, yes.
Switch of position here, a little further up the order between Andre Vieira and Elin Fulga. Smart driving back in the championship, and they're very welcome back, the Romanian team.
Yeah, so Smart Driving have been competing in races earlier on in the season, but Tocco versus Julien Schell is a fascinating one as well. Antoine Lupescu, sorry, that's actually a change of lead, isn't it? So the Iron Lynx car by LR Motorsport has not only caught Lupescu,
that's why,
but managed to get ahead.
It's a very wide moment from the class leader, and that's cost him dearly.
Yes, so, but there was a lock-up from Bertocco as well. The class leader, no, that wasn't the class leader off in the gravel, I don't think. That was the 18 car, so that was a moment for Gwenaël Delomier. So I don't quite know whether Lupescu made a separate mistake, but yeah, that gap has tumbled down. Definitely that was the sky blue and white of Pegasus Racing, number 18. I think coming off the track on the exit of Bucine corner, the final corner that leads you on to the main straight. Eco Segre twisting and turning his way through Biondetti chicane. That's going to be a real hotspot for me this weekend in the Le Mans Cup and in the European Le Mans Series as well, particularly if you're in a faster car and catching traffic out of Bucine corner and onto the main straight. So Segre in third, Geronimo Berrio in fourth in the colours of Virage.
Yeah, this is the battle side by side because James Winslow's got away from this pair. They come down this long chute to turn one. It is advantage to the Team Virage number 66 car as Hayden Chance looks behind, looks up the inside for another opportunity there for himself. So Goudet falls behind Clement Moreno as the pair of rather lagging JS P4s of Jordan Meyer, who's also in the process gone by Jacques Nicolet, make their way up to JS2R, and that's
Grego Bertocco again having a slight error into the first corner. It's just that's just the unweighted tyre, I suppose. But the problem is, once it's flat spotted initially, every time he locks up now into the first corner, that same spot will be found, and it'll just be burning away on the Michelin tyre. So it's something for Bertocco to be wary of. The 29 car is Julien Schell, who's now in front of Antoine Lupescu, therefore. So another change as Lupescu falls back one more spot. And the fight that we had not too long ago for second and third has now become for the lead within JS2R.
53 minutes to go. New fastest lap of the race goes to Ian Aguilera, who's getting away at the front of this race, 3.5 seconds clear from James Winslow, who's been caught again now by the number 66 car. Remember, we're looking at the battle for third. This is the battle now for second, because Geronimo Berrio has now dropped Eco Segre and has caught James Winslow in just a single lap. Seems to have plenty of pace at the moment. There's the lead gap, the white car across the line with, what is that, almost 3.4 seconds before we get to this battling pair.
So 18-year-old Colombian Geronimo Berrio is sticking with James Winslow here, and there is certainly an opportunity to overtake as they head into the braking area for San Donato. And equally, Hayden Chance really on the charge. Now to that down the inside, Berrio will snatch the position unless James Winslow can come fighting back at Luco corner, the left-hander. But no, that change cemented by Berrio to move him up to second position. But the other one I was intrigued by is Hayden Chance in the number 1 car, now getting ahead of Ben Casely. So that will put him into the top 5, the championship leader with his teammate Theo Mercouris. Down the inside for a lead change in JS2R is Julien Schell on Gregor Bertocco. But they're all snapping at their heels. Well, certainly the next car in JS2R is, which is Antoine Lupescu, who we know has got a quick car this weekend as well. But Julien Schell as the joint championship leader to the front, and now he can really start to boss the race potentially. Yeah,
the interesting moment that's approaching here, though, is those two delayed JS P4s are going to be looking to get their way by the lead trio in JS2R. Could that throw a spanner in the works? Clement Moreno, by the way, in 4th place, is closing that gap. Berrio, by the way, is up into 2nd place overall, ahead of James Winslow now. And going very quickly, he sets the fastest lap of the race as we watch the battles behind.
There's confirmation that Hayden Chance has indeed got ahead of Ben Casely. I think he did that either just before the first corner at San Donato or into the San Donato right-hander, which is a tricky first element of this Mugello circuit. You are almost constantly twisting and turning, and also, as I say, that gradient change as well. Steepest steepest gradient around here, 6.8%. So it's you certainly know you're on a bit of a roller coaster at times. Down the inside will go Hayden Chance again to take the position away from Iko Segre. And this is very important regarding the championship because it's a 15-point advantage to that #1 car over the 6 that is in behind. So they're now outscoring Iko Segre to increase the gap.
The ebb and flow of these races can come back here to Segre. It's going to be a matter of just how well it looks after the machine. Hayden Chance ahead, and in particular those Michelin tyres. As you said, Johnny, this circuit, something of an unknown quantity to most of the runners here, and the conditions today significantly different than those we had in free practice yesterday. Qualifying pretty wet. In Aguilera it was, setting pole position for both races. We're seeing already these teams, these drivers adapting to what are going to be rapidly changing conditions as the sun begins to come through what's been pretty steady cloud cover and dries this circuit out. I think we're going to see further changes.
Iko Segre just struggling a bit to get the car turned in at Corintaio corner, which is turn 12. Now this is where the ribbon of asphalt heads right behind a big grandstand which overlooks the main straight, but if you stand on the back row of that grandstand you get a really good view of the exit of Corintaio and into Biondetti as well. Final corner of this particular lap, still early on in the race, and Segre, Iko Segre, second in the championship, is struggling a little bit because it looks like Ben Casely and then the car in behind, Jacopo D'Amato, the third of the virage entries, have a bit more pace compared to Iko Segre, and Ben Casely should be able to pick off Segre on the main straight. The difficulty is, no, Segre's going to brake later, and now to the outside, D'Amato attempting to take both of them in one fell swoop. Oh, there's not much grip outside there, though. He has got ahead of Ben Casely, and because the next corner is a left-hander, that will secure it.
And that's, by the way, that is tussle is now in Jacopo Mazza, the LR Motorsport car, running down in 8th position to close on this group there, the orange nose car 4th in the queue.
So Segre somehow survived all of that and the attack from Ben Casely. Casely will be thinking, I didn't do a great deal wrong there, but I've ended up losing a position to Jacopo D'Amato in the 32 Team Virage car. Now dive bombing at the first corner is the Iron Lynx by LR Motorsport car, the 50 of Grego Bertocco, and he gets back ahead of Julien Schell.
Back to the lead for the bright yellow Iron Lynx car.
Segre, D'Amato, then Casely. Oh, D'Amato made a bit of a mistake there. That was between Scarparia and Pelagio corners. And who's this latching themselves on the rear?
It's Jacopo Mazza
for LR Motorsport.
And has caught them rapidly.
So the dark blue and orange livery for the 81 car makes this a 4-way fight now for effectively 5th position. And they all as one heading to Bucine corner. Very different lines. A big lock-up though from Iko Segre. So can he get the rotation he needs? You don't want to mess up the final corner. It is so important because it then determines how fast you will head down this very long straight and your terminal velocity. So D'Amato does get a better run on Segre, and they may well be side by side as they arrive into San Donato. And trying to now thread the eye of the needle is Ben Casely in the black-fronted number 4 car. He can't do it, but D'Amato can go around the outside of Iko Segre.
But that's where the grip runs out, and Segre can come back at him here and does so.
So outside of Luco into Poggio Secco, and D'Amato didn't get ahead of, or Casely got ahead of D'Amato. So D'Amato's the loser again in this. Ben Casely was thinking, I know exactly how that feels.
Yep, that outside line simply isn't working for grip. And the Virage man loses out. Good battle this between these 4. New fastest lap of the race, by the way, goes to Geronimo Berrio, and he's taken a second out of Ian Aguilera's lead. It's now 2.6 seconds. New fastest lap of the race, a 1:51.713. And now Casely up the inside, rather spooks the car ahead. Nothing wrong with that move from Ben Casely. Eco Segre loses that place, and Ben Casely now at the head of this four-car chain and goes off now in pursuit of Hayden Chance.
Certainly a bullish manoeuvre into the second of the Arrabbiatas, and now Segre is struggling. He's been struggling for a few laps. He just doesn't have the speed of some of the other cars around. And Matza, though, as he tried to go side by side into Biondetti, which is very difficult to do. That's a single racing line chicane, and Matza has come off worse of that little tussle between the two of them. They arrived into the corner at the same time, and now D'Amato trying to take the place away from the 81, but that can't work either. D'Amato may well get the slingshot out of the final corner, though, and back across the line. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, actually the gap stabilised for Ian Aguilera. I thought it might be slightly more than 2.2 seconds, but that's as it remains. Yeah,
it's come down, in fact, a further half a second claim back. Side by side again, Matza to the inside, the outside line again for the Virage car. That hasn't worked previously, and it doesn't work again. Just a lap ago, these four cars were nose to tail, and it's now becoming a little more drawn out.
That was a brief glimpse of Jacques Nicolet, who is in still the colours of his old team, but being run by M Racing this weekend, the number 58 car.
Indeed.
So it looks very much like a Le Douce Arbre liveried machine. It's probably the same car.
It's the Ligier corporate colours.
Ah, okay. So the blue with the Go Faster red and white stripes on it, but yeah, being run by Ivan Muller's outfit, as is the all-purple Cindy Goudet car, number 53, chasing down Clement Moreno. Moreno in the early stages was behind the 53 car, but managed to get in front, but they've not really departed one another.
No, they're pulling themselves up further up here, but not quite to the pace of the group ahead of them. They're still led by the bright yellow Iron Links by LR Motorsport, number 60, JS2 R of Gregorio Bacoccio. Julien Schell still in touch, then Antoine Lepescu in the Ligier Arbre car. That's the 1, 2, 3, then this pair. This is our first opportunity to get a good close look at Natalia Granada. 16 years old, I believe, the youngest of the Iron Dames. Filling in here for Marta Garcia, who's otherwise engaged this weekend after an impressive debut at Spa. The young 16-year-old in her very first car race, GT car race. She's part of the karting squad to the Iron Dames.
So fellow Spaniard to Marta Garcia. Might it be possible to get both of them in the same car at some point? We'll have to wait and see, but they've only driven solo up until this point, both in the 85 car but at different meetings. Ian Aguilera, 2.3 seconds this time. Geronimo Berrios having a watchful eye, though, on him in terms of track limits. Well, actually, so is the race leader. Both have just gone through the first sector and have been rather accused of not staying within the white lines, which is easy to do as you come out of that very fast right-hander at Borgo San Lorenzo. And now Segre all over the road again. So here comes Matza to the outside of the Arrabbiatas. Again, that's a brave one, because these are so fast, these two right-handers heading uphill as well. More likely to make a mistake out of Arrabbiata 2, which can be incredibly costly, not only to the stopwatch, but sometimes to your mechanics who have to repair all of the damage, because that's a fast exit. Moreno not really slowing at the ideal point for San Donato, but Cindy Goudet was not able to dive down the inside.
Ian Aguilera leads this race as you watch Goudet still trying to get onto terms with Moreno, and Moreno still trying to get onto terms with the cars ahead in defence of his points lead coming into this race. It's just over 40 minutes to go. Aguilera stabilises that gap. It's now Eco Segre under pressure again, this time from Jacopo D'Amato, and he makes that move.
And Eco Segre in this situation is just a little bit helpless. He knows the car's not really beneath him, but it's a question of damage limitation now, having watched Hayden Chance work his way through and now into fourth position. Segre trying to fend off a fellow Team Virage car. And this is Jacopo D'Amato, who again runs out of grip because he was out of the groove. That inside line, and if you're not on that, then the car just squirms its way around, has no grip to exit San Donato, and Segre gets back into 7th.
So much of this we'll be hearing post-race is the choices that have been made for the setup of these cars. Seen pretty rapidly in parts of this circuit, Johnny, those dark grey patches where yesterday evening and some of the overnight rain just hanging around on the surface is beginning to evaporate. Drier lines coming, the grip is going to change here, and we've still got 40 minutes of this race to go. In certain parts of the circuit that's happening very rapidly, so where there wasn't grip on the last lap, could there be grip this time?
Yeah, it's a question of whether you're brave enough to find that out, or whether you just want to stick to what you know to this point. Moreno and Goudet closing in on the race leaders in JS2R. Grego Bertocco for Iron Links by LR. He fell back to 2nd behind Julian Schell, but didn't let that phase him. An 18-year-old Bertocco now back in front, sharing with Matteo Pianazzola.
Meanwhile, by the way, at the front of this race, as we watch this pair still battling away, and it's a big lock up there from Segre, and that's going to allow the Virage man through. Does so neatly through the final turn. But for the lead of the race, through the first of the traffic, it's nose to tail. Side by side, though, between the 32 and the 6. This is for 7th place.
The mistake for Segre meant that he went wide at the final corner, and he could hit the loud pedal slightly ahead of D'Amato. Will that work? Because it's this fateful outside line at San Donato. Oh, there's a touch there coming out of the corner, but into Lugo, Segre is just ahead. And let's hope that that bit of contact hasn't done significant damage to either car.
Yeah. Certainly more grip than we've seen until this point on that line. Still sticking with this battle, I can tell you though, Ian Aguilera under pressure now from Geronimo Berrio in the lead of this race. The gap is around half a second. Closer still though, between this battling pair. Behind, it is James Winslow. He's now 7.5 seconds back, by the way, in 3rd place, but being caught by Hayden Chance, who's just under 2 seconds back and closing before a 10-second gap to Ben Casely. It's been a chain of drivers escaping the grip of a chain of what has been 4, 5, even 6 cars at times.
Still 0.6 of a second the gap, first to second in JS P4. Goudet now back ahead of Clement Moreno, I assume on the brakes into San Donato. So a good run out of the final corner. 1.1 kilometres the straight, although there's arguments that it's not completely straight all the way through. There's a definite right to left kink, but here was Goudet braking down the inside of Clement Moreno for 4th spot. And that one is flipping backwards and forwards as the gap is much closer now through the latest split. Aguilera to Berrio, here it is. 0.1 of a second now for the overall race lead.
Yeah, this time, no huge delay through the next bit of traffic. They've got a bit of clear air now. We'll now see who's got the pace at this stage of the race. Aguilera was up to about 3.5 seconds clear, but that's been reeled in pretty rapidly by Geronimo Berrio. 2.5 seconds of it done on pace, the rest of it I think done through traffic.
So the move to get back ahead of Ico Segre from Jacopo D'Amato, the Swiss driver racing with Umberto D'Amato this weekend again. The 32 car swooping by Ico Segre to put D'Amato into 7th position, but for the race lead as the sun continues to rise here in Mugello, making it very picturesque. And indeed, Ian Aguilera, he knows he's in a motor race here. We're not far away from the pit lane window opening as well, 3 minutes away, should Aguilera want to make an early stop.
Indeed. Berrio looking to add further trophies to a, I'm sure, rather sagging trophy shelf back at Team Virage. Huge success here. Let's recall the efforts of Gillian Henrion, champion 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then Michelin Le Mans Cup champion last year, in contention for the European Le Mans Series LMP3 title this year, and named last week, by the way, Johnny, as one of the LMEM nominees for the WEC rookie test in Bahrain in November, where he will drive the championship-winning LM GT3 car with the Pure Racing Porsche.
What an opportunity that is. Massively exciting, and again, you know, every credit to Ligier European Series is now. There was actually an attempt to take the race lead, which didn't work out for Geronimo Berrio. For a matter of meters, he led the race, but no grip. Well, particularly when you choose to hit the brake pedal that late into San Donato, that is what happens. So Berrio is truly revved up here. He's tried it once. There's nothing to say he might not try it a few more times again. Now there's been a slow car.
That's
after a spin.
Giacomo D'Amato, as he had a spin.
Or is he okay? No, I think he may well have had a moment here. Yeah.
He did. Big moment.
I thought there was certainly smoke or dust in the background. Eco Segre says, thank you very much. I'll take that place back again then. And actually an expert recovery from Giacomo D'Amato.
Yeah.
Didn't waste a great deal of time in context.
Good stuff, by the way, from Ian Aguilera. He sort of saw that move coming. I think realised that was going to be too deep into the corner from the challenger, Geronimo Berrio. Sort of let him go, took his ideal line, reclaimed the lead, and then pulled out an advantage as Berrio was just struggling for grip, and he's going to cross the line now, and that gap is close to a second and a half.
I wonder whether Ian Aguilera could see the 66 car coming at pace, so he just opened the steering a little bit, allowed Berrio through, thought you're never going to make the corner in the conventional sense, so I'll just duck in behind and take it back again. So heads-up driving from Ian Aguilera, coming out of the Ginetta Junior Championship in the UK, but getting more and more experience behind the wheel of sports cars these days as well. Mexican, still only 17 years old, so still learning his trade, but that was almost a characteristic of a driver 20 years older than he is. Yeah,
it's funny pace this season. It's coming through this season with more and more practice. But Ian Aguilera got great one-lap pace at the moment. Race smarts appear to be developing as well. He's now in a battle for this hard-earned lead. And this is going to be an interesting half an hour for the future prospects of the RLRM Sportman. Jacopo Mazza, meanwhile, on terms here with Ben Casely, and he's caught him quite quickly. So Nielsen Racing from LR Motorsports. This is a battle for 5th place, and they're within reach of Hayden Chance ahead. 5 seconds back at the moment, but they're going to, look to determine pretty quickly who's going to be in this 5th place. Into the pits, meanwhile, our first stoppers. Pegasus Racing's Jordan Meyer, and following him down pit lane, Jacques Nicolet in the M Racing car. They're 11th and 12th places overall and in class.
Question is, do we see one or both of these cars darting to the right-hand side? We're going to see Aguilera pit, but Berrio stayed out. That might not be a bad shout from Virage, in that it looked fairly congested for pit lane entry there. Almost as if cars were slowing down before the speed limit line, which incidentally is 60 kilometers per hour in an ACO rules meeting. Also coming in from the lead of JS2 R, Grego Bertocco in the number 60 car.
That puts Julian Schell back into the lead, in fact, for the moment. So a couple of different strategies around the way in which they're timing these pit stops. We've got 5 of the JS P4s on pit lane, and all bar 3 of the JS2Rs right now. So it is busy down there. Still, though, battling away and still out on track. And that's Mazza toughing it through on the inside of Ben Casely. And in avoidance of that lunge, lost further ground, the Nielsen Racing man.
It was a bit of a lunge at the first corner, and then almost in reply, Mazza said, well, I'll get you back at Luco then, and thankfully, Casely saw that move coming.
Perfectly fair.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfectly fair.
No, I think Ben Casely may have might have made an issue of it, but had he done, it would have been even more costly for the number 4 car. There would have been damage potentially to the left-hand side and more of a time delay as well. Sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say, well, I wasn't quick enough to jump across to defend the line. So through you go. And Casey's still got the speed to stick with Matza and potentially flip those places around again. So we actually only have 6 cars on the racetrack currently, very busy in pit road, Graham.
Indeed, team manager of the RLRM Sports squad, Alan McGarity there. Looking cheery. That counts for cheery.
Does it?
Alan, yes.
Oh, by Alan's standards,
yes.
You mean? Okay, understood. Biondetti corner, or chicane more accurately. Now ahead of these two, Geronimo Berrios just pitted, and there he is arriving on the scene, just at the point where the 77 is having the lollipop lifted, engine restarting, and back into the race will go Ian Aguilera, but remember now a lap down on Berrio, who's just come in, so that will all equal up in due course, and it may well be that, well, that assumes that the driving talent is the same, because Aguilera is silver, Berrio and Moreno, Pedro Moreno, are both silvers as well, so that should be the same amount of time that each car has to spend on pit road. These are not pit stops done at breakneck speed as quickly as possible. These are governed by a minimum pit stop reference time.
So we're under half an hour to go as the majority of the cars beginning to stream out of pit lane. That's not one of our Ligiers, by the way. It's a different Iron Dames car.
Would be quite interesting to throw a Lamborghini Huracan into this race to see where it measured up against some of the prototypes too. But yes, we'll see that car later in the day.
Yep. That's the Michelin Le Mans Cup car, isn't it? Because the Iron Dames car in the ELMS is a Porsche.
Yes.
It slightly confused me for a moment there. Quite early in the morning.
No, but there is an Iron Dames Lamborghini that races in the World Endurance Championship,
there
of
is
course,
indeed.
for the same crew that will be racing a Porsche this weekend.
And watch this space, because I feel we're going to get another Iron Dames effort very soon.
What, with a different manufacturer again?
No, it'd be one of the manufacturers they're using, but a different championship.
Interesting.
Oh,
okay.
And there's a somewhat wide line there for the number 4 car.
Yeah.
Leading the race, Ben Casey at the moment, by the way,
because he hasn't
pitted
stopped
yet.
Yes.
But that's probably rather ruined that strategy.
Well, he
And
may well have been
indeed the tyres.
told, Ben, this is your in-lap, so make it count. And, yeah, pushing a bit too much coming out of the second of the Arabiatas, it looked like. That happened in the 3rd sector. Now, what could be the 2 class leaders find each other on the racetrack. They're not at the moment, but Ian Aguilera is catching up the lost ground because of his pit stop. Bertocco it's not Bertocco anymore, it's Matteo Pianazzola who's taken over the Iron Lynx by LR Motorsport car, and Pianazzola currently timed as 2nd in the category. Having a look at Julien Schell, taking a well-deserved gulp of aqua there in the pit road, chatting to those at Pegasus Racing, because David Cosenel is now at the wheel of car 29.
Yeah, that will have come, I think, courtesy of a shorter pit stop for Pegasus Racing. Some, 10 seconds to the good ahead of Pianazzola at the moment. This is our race leader, the number 29 car. David Cosenel taking over from Julien Schell.
Yeah, the reason for the different times in the pit stops, Cosenel is bronze, Julien Schell silver. So if you have a bronze-silver combination, you can spend less time in the pit lane compared to silver-silver. Or indeed, if you're a solo driver and a silver grade as well, then that's effectively counted as 2 silvers. So same amount of time, making the category JS2R actually 3-pronged. You have pro cars, they're not actually called pro cars, but deemed as pro, then pro-am, and then there are a couple of am entries as well, being the 18 Pegasus car and the 31 ANS Motorsport of Clement Moreno.
So Ben Casey is on pit lane, is the last of the field to make the routine pit stop. So before too very much longer, Johnny, we'll get the order that will form the remainder of this race to the flag. 26 minutes to go. At the moment, Ben Casey leads, but is in the midst of his pit stop. It's then Pedro Moreno aboard the number 66 Team Virage car, ahead of Ian Aguilera by some 7 seconds, and that again is a gap that's been forged by that change in the difference, rather, in the driver crew, because if I'm not wrong, the Team Virage 66 car does feature a bronze driver.
No, they're both silvers in 66.
Right.
Yeah.
So hang on a minute, what's the bogey pit stop time?
Good question. I haven't checked that. What we need to know really is the difference between a silver pit stop time and a bronze silver pit stop time, for instance. The number 3 smart driving car already carrying a bit of damage and then getting the tail well out wide, exiting Arrabbiata 2.
The reason I asked the question, by the way, is because Pedro Moreno was 6 seconds quicker in the pit stop than the RLR M Sport crew.
Yes, okay. So RLR being 1 silver driver versus the 66 being 2 silver drivers. Pedro Moreno's now taken over from Berriot, but there shouldn't be that much of a deficit, should there? So I wonder whether they have gone slightly the wrong side there. I mean, it looks suspiciously like it might be a 2 minutes, 20-second pit stop. Monza Garage, number 71, they also have 2 silvers.
So the answer, with thanks to Elsa Nicolai, and delighted to see Elsa back at the races.
Isn't it great?
Taking time out with her baby daughter. Delighted to see you back, Elsa. And the difference should be 137 seconds for a silver and 142 for a single silver driver. And I think the answer is both are okay.
Fine. Well, we'll take Elsa's word for it in that case.
I'd always take Elsa's word for everything.
I actually didn't realise there was a difference between 2 silvers and 1 silver. So it's taught me something in that respect. Theo Mikuris now at the wheel of the number 1 car. He's 0.4 of a second behind another silver combination, the Monza Garage entry, number 71. So 71's now in the hands of Chu Ting Shou, the Taiwanese driver, taking over from Jamie Winslow. And they'll head across the line almost as one, 3rd and 4th positions. And Mikuris, generally on balance, has been marginally faster this season than Hayden Chance. He's going to try it at the first corner down to San Donato, and actually given quite a bit of space there by Shou, wanting to avoid a collision. Shou thinking perhaps he can get him on the fight back into Luco, but no, that move is done. Mikuris up to 3rd place now. Yeah,
21 seconds back from Pedro Moreno in the lead of this race. So with 23 minutes to go, it's Pedro Moreno leads the race in the number 66 Team Virage car. 7 seconds, and that's a closing gap now to Ian Aguilera in the RRM Sport number 77. Then, what's just happened there? Mikuris step into 3rd place.
Yes.
Ahead of Chen Ting-Chu in the Monza Garage car. So it is 2 Team Virage cars in the top 3. Then Ben Kingsley, the final pit stopper, and Ben 15 seconds now behind that battle for 3rd place, ahead of the new driver aboard the LR Motorsport car. No Luca Riccatelli in that car. It is Manuel Condemcarlo from Eco Segre, now running in 7th place. Umberto D'Amato in Team Virage's 32 car. Then Jacques Nicolai running in 9th place in Smart Driving's number 3 car in the hands of Alan Fulger. That's your top 10. In the JS2Rs, as we look again at Natalia Granada Ferrero in the number 85 car, the race though is led by David Cosanel, who's being closed down by Matteo Pedazzola in the Iron Lynx by LR Motorsport car. That's the lead battle between the 29 and the 60. Clement Moreno cycled back around here to 3rd. Remember, that's an important place to gather as many points as possible for the points leader coming in here. 5.5 seconds back from Pianazzola in 2nd place, with Noel de Cunha and a further 5 seconds back in the Le Desarbe number 50 car. That's your 1, 2, 3, 4 in JS2R with just over 20 minutes to go.
Thank you, Graham. I had a little chat with 17-year-old Manuel Condemcarlo yesterday. Very kind of tuned-in guy. He's not had much car racing experience, but out of Italian Formula 4, very successful in karting prior to that, though, and getting used to this weekend a car with a roof over his head. I don't think he's ever had that before, and also just the behaviour of a prototype. I don't think either prior to this weekend he'd done much racing in the wet, if at all. So that practice session yesterday, and indeed qualifying in wet weather conditions, very useful for Quandam Carlo's experience. Noticed that Clement Moreno had gone slightly off the road there in the number 31 ANS Motorsport car. Didn't seem to be too damaging, though, to his current sector times. Still in third position for the joint championship leader.
He is being caught by Noda Kuna, by the way. That gap is down to under 4 seconds now, and further 2 seconds lost on the last lap, and that wide moment won't help the campaign on this next lap. Indeed, he's lost a further second to the Kuna.
Oh. Moreno, I think, knew there was one prototype there. I'm not sure he knew there were two, and Nico Segre wanted to get by in the same bit of lappery, and Moreno and Segre make contact. That could have been an awful lot worse with both cars spinning. Amazingly, they both survive, and Segre didn't lose a great deal of time to Quandam Carlo's car.
Yeah, unfortunately though for Moreno, he did lose time to Noda Kuna, who's going to be with him, I think, by the end of this lap. So he's losing time hand over fist at the moment, and that's important for his championship challenge. So ANS Motorsport versus Ligier for third place. You can see exactly what the loss was there. They're going to cross the line very shortly. I think that gap is going to be under 2 seconds.
Very good lap from Theo Mercouris. That's the number 1 car's best lap of the race so far, and faster, almost a second faster than the 2 cars ahead. The problem for Theo is he's got 14 seconds to try and find on Ian Aguilera, who sits in second, and a further 6 to Pedro Moreno, who leads.
In fact, last time around, no loss. Pedro Moreno to Ian Aguilera, the pair of them putting in literally identical times to the 1,000th, 153.131 for both the leading cars, which means that the gap stays at 5.844 seconds.
Funnily enough, yeah. You give them another 200 attempts at that and they wouldn't get anywhere close, I'm sure. One of those little special moments, as now Quandam Carlo versus Segre continues to rage on. 6th and 7th places. Nico Segre, I wonder whether the team are able to do anything about the number 6 car not quite having the speed of those that he started with. On the grid, Segre was right up there, so he must have been happy with how the car was in the wet conditions. But often then when you have a condition change, it's difficult to get the car dialed in perfectly, and you certainly will struggle to do that live in a race.
It does look. It looked in terms of the body language of that car as if it was a setup issue against the cars around him.
Yes.
So I think they've made a choice at that stage of the race. Looks to be the wrong choice. Nico Segre now making his way through the lead pair, who are together now in JS2 R, and the JS P4 car doesn't get in the way of that battle, and we've got the LR Motorsport, the Iron Lynx car, tucked underneath the rear now of the Pegasus racing car, David Cossonel. Is he going to go to the outside? He is. He's going to look to see whether or not there is grip this time around as they come flying down towards turn 1. He's by the Pegasus car before they get to turn 1. It's a change in lead, and it is Matteo Pinazzola who goes to the lead in the number 60 JS2R.
As that was happening, just checking the times from Segre yesterday, and he's actually gone quicker in today's race than he managed at any point yesterday. But as we've mentioned, there were changeable conditions, but a 153 is okay. He's just at the moment dreaming of the 151s, which is what Ian Aguilera managed earlier on in the race. Theo Mercouris has managed a low 52. As Quandam Carlo chasing Ben Casely for 5th position at Cervelli corner, and now into the Arrabbiatas.
Interesting moments, isn't it, for some of the young drivers as well in this race. In the very early days of car racing, what they learn and how quickly. These are the moments, Johnny, that really do separate the wheat from the chaff. What can you learn? How quickly? Watching the times of young Natalia Granada, who is running in 8th. She's last runner, but steady improvement in times and consistency coming, and that's from where you build.
No further action needed for the incident that involved Clement Moreno in car number 31 and Nico Segre. Remember when Moreno closed the door thinking that there was only one prototype there rather than two. So Segre's carrying a bit of damage. There's some scarring on the left-hand side of his car, but Moreno, after making that move, it was most costly for him. So that's probably the reason why no further investigation is necessary.
And costly to the tune of putting him into the clutches of Noda Kuna. This pair now battling away for the final podium place in JS2 R. 15 minutes to go. On those races, Johnny, this clock seems to be ticking down more quickly, and off the road is the number 86 car. That is Ryan Sheehan, and that was a touch from 44 car of Andre Vieira. Ryan Sheehan from the United States. It's a prize drive, isn't it, this? It's part of the single-seater prize won in the States with the, it's called the JSF3, I think, their single-seater car in junior Formula single-seater racing in the United States. And Ryan, I'm sure, was enjoying his day until that moment.
Well, again, getting to grips with multi-class racing, which he won't be used to from his single-seater experience in the United States, and you know that.
I think it's also, I think, his first race with a roof over his head.
Quite possibly.
Side by side here. Safety car is coming.
Well, is that because Ryan Sheehan is still trapped in the gravel?
You're probably right. So the safety car has been deployed.
In a vulnerable position as well. So all of a sudden, a 6-second advantage for Pedro Moreno will disappear. And perhaps more crucially, Ian Aguilera is not going to be 17 seconds in front of Theo Mercouris. They're going to be absolutely nose to tail. We should get a restart. There is the Ryan Sheehan car.
Just can't get it out, can he?
And despite his, well, the best efforts, the contact rather accelerated him towards the gravel. That was through the twist and the turn of Scarparia into Pelagio corner, so turns 10 and 11.
Wasn't really a way through for the JS P4 there, I don't think.
So Andre Vieira, the Portuguese, thinking there was a chance to lap the 86, but Ryan Sheehan was certainly marginally ahead as they turned in. And how aware was Sheehan that maybe Vieira was going to make that manoeuvre. So definitely a learning process for the 19-year-old American. And as you say, I think pretty much in the clear. The problem is he's now trapped and going laps down compared to other runners in JS2 R. So
Ryan Sheehan, whilst immobilised, drops behind this car, the 85 car of Natalia Granada Ferrero. We've got 12.5 minutes to go, and the field will be picked up by the safety car. Doesn't appear yet to have been deployed.
Look to the tracker. No, I would agree with that. So they're waiting for the race leader, who is only now heading through Biandetti corner, turns 13 and 14, and into Bucine. So I would imagine that the safety car is going to be sent out from the end of pit road around about now to pick up Pedro Moreno. At least we don't have the complication of cars still wanting or needing to pit.
Yeah.
The pit lane window has been closed for about 20 minutes now.
Should be a relatively quick recovery effort here. This is again the reason why we are going to go under the safety car. Ryan Sheehan just turned around there by contact from Andre Vieira in the ASM Motorsport JS P4.
I mean, that's not too dissimilar to what happened with Clement Moreno and Nico Segre, where they touched. It was just that they were more alongside one another and just bounced off. Whereas because Sheehan was slightly ahead, it's nerfed the rear and just spun him off into the gravel.
Safety car is now on track. And, well, the same, by the way, there it is. Maserati.
Of course it is.
Together with Ligier, fine Grand Prix heritage, of course. Ligier with the rather more recent success in that regard, and certainly more success at Le Mans.
When you fly into Bologna Airport, there was a time, there may still be a time, when the vehicles that guide the planes to their positions to offload passengers have been Lamborghinis.
Oh, yes.
Because Bologna is Lamborghini's home. Maserati, where is their considered home? Their kind of birthplace? Can't be too far away from
The Maserati
here.
factory is, I'm trying to think exactly where, it's not far from Maranello.
Okay.
They're all
in
here.
the very, yeah,
It's
all in a
here.
very close area of northern Italy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the home of all of these.
It's everything's here, you know.
All that you could possibly need.
They have both pizza and beer locally, which that's all I need.
I think it is. After a hard day's work in our
Yes.
little tiny commentary booth,
Yeah,
as today will be,
pizza, beer,
conversation
the
with
love
me.
we'll get there. There's somewhere in the list. The love of a good woman, thanks Trudy, and the husky.
Neither of whom are actually here, but they are on the end of a phone.
They are on the other phone. He does like a good chat, the husky.
Maserati, founded on the 1st of December 1914 in Bologna, Italy.
There you go.
So that's the reason why we have a Maserati safety car. And
In a circuit, by the way, owned by Ferrari.
yes, so that will be fairly
by the way,
contentious.
it is great to be here. If you are local, and why wouldn't you be, either because you live here or perhaps you're visiting for business or pleasure, it is free to come in today.
Wonderful.
Oh, thank God, Saturday. No, it's not free to come in today. But
Okay.
it's not expensive. If you're used to...
Was it free to come in yesterday?
Yes, it was.
Is that where you're getting confused?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
That's where getting confused. If, however, you're used to paying kind of Grand Prix prices, be prepared to be pleasantly surprised at the ticket booth here.
I'm sure. We are still permitted to get in for free, but only because we purport to do work
Yes,
whilst
don't
we're
tell
in.
them we enjoy it.
No. I mean, if we
charges.
weren't speaking right now, I'd be up on the spectator bank, as I was for a fair bit of yesterday, in actual fact.
I have to say, amongst the best viewing anywhere in Will Motorsport here, you know, the opportunities to see, as you can see there from some of the spectator banks in the distance ahead of the tree line. You know, I've been here with you commentating on other racing in the past, and during practice sessions taking a run out to watch, and some of the viewing areas are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. It feels like this should almost be a kind of longer circuit, but in order to crowbar it into the valley, they folded it back over itself. So it's like a calzone version of a Grand Prix track. And because of that, no corner is particularly very far from another corner.
No, indeed.
And I don't think necessarily the way that the cameras are set up gives you that impression. So if you've never been to Mugello, then please do visit it sometimes very, very soon.
It is, I think, one of the world's most beautiful circuits.
I agree.
Look at it.
And what you can't see behind our camera at the first corner, San Donato, is just the view to the mountains in the distance.
The vista.
Absolutely superb.
And actually, I think we're going to get today the best weather we've had all week. It's been pretty cloud covered so far to this point, but
there you go. That's looking in the opposite direction now, so you can see the landscape that I'm talking about in the background there.
It's what I would describe as prettily.
Prettily, yes. Prettily, Italy. Indeed so.
There is an alternative for other parts of the
I've
country,
heard
which we're
it,
not
but
going to
that's
get
for the
into.
late night broadcast that we're not doing this weekend. The rise and fall, as I've talked about, so out of Poggio Secco and into Materassi corner, where again, I don't think open this weekend, but there are various grandstands because we've had a Grand Prix here not that long ago. What was that, 4 years ago in 2020?
Which is where they got the outright lap record, isn't it?
Yes.
So was it on
Sure.
118 from Lewis Hamilton?
If it was,
He wouldn't
that's
hack it in this field, though.
unbelievable. But yeah,
Wouldn't hack it in this field.
no. Not in his car. No, you'd have to put him in a JS2 R and see how Lewis Hamilton got on. Rather well, I would hazard a guess.
But whilst the gaps, of course, are now compressed, let's talk about the order. It is Pedro Moreno for Team Ferrari leading the way from RLRM Sports, long-time leader. The 77 car of Ian Aguilera has been in that car from the very start. Theo Mercouris will be loving this because it's putting right back into contention for not just the podium position he currently sits in, but potentially the win as well when we get back to racing.
We are about to do that, by the way. 6 minutes left on the clock, but the lights on the safety car had been put out.
Okay, and then it's Chunting Chu, fourth for Monza Garage, and then fifth is Nielsen Racing's Ben Casey, right up there. He's doing very well. In JS2R, Iron Links by LR Motorsports, Matteo Pianazzola leads David Cosanel for Pegasus Racing, the 29 car. Then Clement Moreno, could this be the moment he's been waiting for. He's been under pressure from Noah Da Cunha, but he will join, he will get racing again in, well, podium place, but again in contention for the win. We're about to go back racing, Johnny Palmer.
No overtaking before the line, and that's tricky for Ian Aguilera because Andre Vieira sits ahead of him, which is a lapped car. That's the car that caught Ryan Sheehan, ironically enough. So Aguilera having to wait before he hits that loud pedal until they cross the line. Now he gets right underneath the rear wing of Vieira, and now the overtaking can commence. It's more busy further back. Theo Mercouris has not had a great getaway either. So now down the inside will go Chu Tung Chu to lose Mercouris a place, and it might be two, yes, because Casely goes through as well and gains a couple of spots in one manoeuvre there.
Great stuff from Ben Casely. Under pressure from the Virage car. Not a lot of grip there.
No. Well, everything's cooled off, hasn't it? And it's still reasonably cool this morning because, well, not yet 9:30 in the morning. And Mercouris, great car control, but he realised that tyre temperature was nowhere near as it was when the safety car. There's contact then in the back of Ben Casey's car. Amazingly, he kept it on the track. And that was Chuting Show, I think, being a little slow. And Show maybe into the back of Casely, which speared the 4 car briefly left. It's still in the race and didn't lose a position.
Moreno under pressure here, and he's going to lose a place to the number 50 car of Noah Da Cunha. That move has been made. So whilst there was the opportunity for the points leader to make progress, he's not done that. Iker Sigray is that around the outside. Has he made up 3 places there? I think he has.
Yes. Amazing in the white-fronted number 6 car. So Mercouris now trying to get at least one of those positions back again around the outside of Correntaio corner, this hairpin right. Meanwhile, the race leaders spear their way through Biandetti chicane. Show's losing more spots, this time to Casely and Mercouris. So the Monza Garage car, number 71, back down behind those two. That will put him into 8th place.
Look at the lead battle here, though, because that gap forged at the restart has been immediately gobbled up by Ian Aguilera. He's in the tow now of the lead car, Johnny.
Very good run indeed, but likewise on Ben Casely, Theo Mercouris is trying to get back into 3rd, here then into the braking area of San Donato. 3 minutes left on the clock, so we'll get this lap and one more, and a hip and shoulder check there from Aguilera to get ahead of Pedro Moreno. And that's what it means to those associated, including Nick Adcock, down watching, enthralled by this early morning race. And Aguilera wasting no time at all. It will have worried him, certainly, that the advantage that Pedro Moreno got at the restart, because Aguilera was trapped in behind the ASM Motorsport car, but he made up the ground and he's now in front.
Well, cracking stuff there from Ian Aguilera. We're going to see that again, I think. Or was this different moment? That's the 2nd place car going wide and losing part of the bodywork, so that's not a great moment for Pedro Moreno. Is Iker Sigray going to be able to make up further ground? There is pretty significant damage to the rear left of that car after running over the curb. Debris mercifully off the racing line, though, Johnny.
Yeah. Did he catch? Well, he certainly caught a bit of the curb and the gravel trap, but I wonder whether there was another. Well, there won't have been a marker board there. They tend to be into corners rather than out of it. But is that bodywork then there's now wedged in the gravel trap itself on the exit of Poggio Secco? There is a brief glimpse again of Natalia Granada.
Sadly, has lost a lap with that safety car, unfortunately.
And if you catch sight of 86 Ryan Sheehan, who thankfully is back in the race, but he's now 4 laps down from the overall race leader because of that time spent in the gravel trap.
This, by the way, is the battle for 2nd in JS2 R. It's David Coussinel trying to fight off a rampant Noah Da Cunha. They're a couple of seconds back from Matteo Pinazzola. This is the battle just behind the Virage car. It's the battle for 2nd place, and that is going to change, I think. I think he's got the right line there to make the move. That's Da Cunha. Coussinel to the outside. Is he going to make this stick? Not quite there.
Yeah, Buccinet corner's really interesting because it looks like an overtake's going to be done, but the higher line can sometimes be the faster one. So fending off for the time being. 2nd place is David Coussinel. Da Cunha is silver, Coussinel bronze, sharing the car with Julien Schell.
Still looking for an opportunity to make their move stick, but it's the Pegasus Racing driver that is ahead at the moment. Just will comment at the moment that Pedro Moreno is losing time here, both to the leader Ian Aguilera, with that damage now on board the Team Farage car, but is being caught by Eco Segre.
Agreed. So Segre in the second phase of this race, post-safety car, looks to have a lot more pace up his sleeve. He's bringing Theo Mercouris with him, though, and there's only 0.6 of a second between Segre and Mercouris for the final step on the podium. And again, that is very important regarding the championship. At the start of this weekend, there were still 100 points on offer across the remaining 4 races. We've nearly had one of those, because this is now the last lap for Ian Aguilera and Pedro Moreno in second, but falling a more distant second place.
Yeah, just trouble at the restart, being caught behind a back marker. It's been impressive from that moment since, Johnny. Rapidly catching, then rapidly overhauling, and then rapidly pulling away from Pedro Moreno, and Ian Aguilera has been in control of this.
So he'll be greeted by the checkered flag, the first checkered flag of the weekend, and the Ligier European Series race 1 will go to Ian Aguilera, side by side for third, as second place goes to Pedro Moreno. Segre, Mercouris, who got that? It was Mercouris by 21 thousandths of a second.
Now, how important might that be at the end of this season?
They came here, the number 1 car came here with a 15-point lead over the number 6. Well, they've just gained another 3 points on the number 6 car. It's 15 versus 12. And in JS2 R, look for the bright yellow car, the colours of Iron Lynx by LR Motorsport, Luca Riccitelli's outfit, and they will get a win in JS2 R for Matteo Pianazzola and the starting driver Grego Bortocco. So congratulations to those two young Italian racers, who could be the future, certainly, of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, for instance, maybe the European Le Mans Series, depending on what they want to do in near seasons off. But behind them, the script for the championship continues. There was contact between the two leaders as well on the closing lap. Now, that was before Ian Aguilera got ahead of Moreno, or was it on the slowing down lap?
I think it was on the slowing down lap.
My word, okay. So that happened just a few moments ago.
What was all that about?
And after the checkered flag, we are suggesting...
I think it was, because there was already damage, wasn't there, to the...
This is the really close finish between Theo Mercouris, a nose ahead of Eco Segre as they cross the line. That is what 21 thousandths of a second looks like. There's Grego Bortocco, who did the opening stint in car number 60, and Matteo Pianazzola taking over the Iron Lynx by LR Motorsport car. So they come home victorious, ahead of the co-championship leaders David Cosenel and Julien Schell, with Noé de Cunha for Les Deux Sabres completing the JS2R podium. No shortage of action once again in the Ligier European Series, and as we hoped, I really do feel that this category, this formula, has lended itself very well to the curves and the climbs and drops of the Mugello circuit.
Incident between car 66 Moreno and 77 Aguilera at turn 1 under investigation. And was that the post-race incident, or was that the incident where the lead was taken with a bit of a hip check? And I suspect that's what that post-flag incident was about. But either way, you don't do that.
No, well, if it was a bit of revenge, then that's not a good idea at all, particularly once the checkered flag has flown and racing is done. It's not great to be retaliating even within race, but after race, that's a definite no-no. So I'm sure they will be, all of that will be investigated. They're going to park up very close to one another as well. So will they have a conversation, or will they go in completely separate directions? Who knows?
I would suggest that the latter would be the right moment.
Probably the better bet. Well, so much happening. We've got another dose of this later on in the day, of course, but let's reflect on the last 60 minutes. We got underway, bang on schedule, with race 1 of the Ligier European Series, forming Heat 5 of the 2024 campaign here from Mugello. And it was always going to be a busy start. The start-finish straight, very wide in places, but then it closes in Narrowest point, something like 9.6 metres, so you don't want to be 4 abreast at that point. They tried 3 abreast, in fairness, on the exit of San Donato for the first time of asking, and an early lead, in fact, taken by James Winslow ahead of Ian Aguilera, but he would muscle his way through eventually. In the meantime, Gregorio Bertocco in the number 60 Iron Lynx car took an early lead as well. That was an early off-track moment for number 18 too, which is Gwenaël Delhomier, making a debut in the championship. Busy again on the start-finish straight as Clement Moreno battled with Cindy Goudet, and the M Racing car just missing out in that particular moment. There was a lock-up as well from Bertocco. I presume they did not change tyres on that number 60 car, so that meant that Pianazzola had to nurse the tyres to the finish. Good overlapping as well between the Jerome Berrio-driven 66 and James Winslow. And also side by side down the inside with a change of JS2R lead as Julien Schell outbraked Bertocco into the first corner to lead the GT-derived cars. Then a good scrap in the early stages between Hayden Chance and Eco Segre. Ben Casely getting through and past Segre, whose car was not in the sweet spot for the opening 40 minutes or so. It did seem to come alive after the safety car that we eventually had. Segre having to defend from a number of cars. Jacopo Mazza, also the 32 car of Jacopo D'Amato, who would eventually hand over to Umberto D'Amato, the 2 silver drivers sharing that car. Almost a big moment for Geronimo Berrio, but that was the time that Aguilera was able to get back ahead of the 66. And when Pedro Moreno took that car over, they had a really good dice as well. This was an unfortunate moment for our American driver making a debut in the European Series with Ligier, and a rotation after contact with the 44 ASM Motorsport Andre Vieira-driven car. And that would bring out a late race safety car with just under 15 minutes to go. And this is the contentious moment, as there was contact, Ian Aguilera getting back ahead of the 66, now driven by Pedro Moreno, who subsequently had an off-track moment at Poggio Secco, which tore up the rear left of his car, and he had to carry that damage to the flag. The checkered flag, though, going to Ian Aguilera, flashing the lights in celebration. But what about the finish for the final step on the podium? They were separated in the end by 21 thousandths of a second, and a terrific run from Theo Mercouris, meaning that Eco Segre, who had an up-and-down race, just misses out on a podium. But it's Matteo Pianazzola and Gregorio Bertocco who are victorious in JS2R.
Correct at the time of commentating on that. That has now changed because there's a 5-second penalty for Moreno in the 66 car. That will drop into 4th. Theo Mercouris and Hayden Chance will finish that race 2nd, and Eco Segre is on the podium.
So Segre, so close, side by side. I'm still trying to work out whether this particular moment was, well, was it during the safety car? Was it before the end of the race? Was it after the end of the race? But side-to-side contact between Aguilera and the Moreno-driven car. That is the corrected result. So 29 laps. Ian Aguilera still won, but the changes behind with Theo Mercouris and Hayden Chance moved up to 2nd position, and 3rd place Eco Segre because of the 5-second penalty that drops the 66 car of Geronimo Berrio and Pedro Moreno back to 4th. It's a win for Gregorio Bertocco and Matteo Pianazzola in JS2R ahead of Julien Schell and David Cosenel, with the number 50 car in 3rd. Right, we'll do more Ligier European Series racing later on today. We'll see you for that. And all the reason to return for a second dose of 60-minute racing later on in the day. We've got some qualifying to happen before that, but action-packed Saturday here in Mugello. And let me get you a time before we dash for the start of the second race. We will be on air at 5 to 1 for a 1 o'clock start local and another 60-minute race. So join Graham Goodwin and me, Johnny Palmer, for that later on. Bye for now.
Very team Iron Leagues. And now it's time for the national anthem. And this is the national anthem for the winner. Now it's time for the official picture, trophy and hat. See in front of you. With a great podium for the class JS2 R. Now is with a JS2 R Pro AM class. The winner, Julian Schellen, David Casanel. And for the team, Pegasus. Official photo. Thank you, guys. Okay, we are ready for the last podium for the class JS2 R AM. The winner, Louis Stern, and the team Pegasus. And Gwenal Delomier. Now it's time for the official photo. Thank you, guys. Okay, we are waiting in this afternoon for the race 2 for the Ligier European Series in Mugello for the first time.